Welcome to the DJD Show, coming to you live. On with the show. Well, ladies and gentlemen, today we're talking about the excitement that is video games, anime, and interesting games to say the least. Alright, Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2 gets woke with pronouns, modern day politics, mass and masculine subversion. If you were excited about the upcoming Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2, which is currently in development by Hardsuit Labs and Paradox Entertainment, with a scheduled release date of the first quarter of 2020 for PS4, Xbox One, and on PC for Steam, GOG.com, and the Paradox Store and the Epic Game Store, you might want to bottle up that excitement, but put it in a jar and slap it on a shelf. Close the cupboard and lock it up tight because there's a huge socio-political uphill climb to get over before you can safely say that game will actually be worth playing. Well, to say the least, to fix this little problem, I'm going to mod it if I can. If there's editing tools, I'll be modding it. That's what I'm going to do. Yeah, so if it has these little issues, I'll deal with it. As long as I can screw with the engine somewhat, and we'll figure it out. Single player, of course. I mean, if it's the multiplayer, no way. I'm not going to even risk it. But yeah, installing mods. Not like I'm that level of an expert on modification of games. So, first and foremost, various woke gaming outlets managed to get some exclusive scoops on the game during the announcement, which should definitely let you know where the developer's favoritism lies. One such outlet is, and well, that's their assessment of it, gaming news site VG247. In their piece, they revealed the character creation has a pronoun selector, which is only ever popular with your opinion on that. Like with I'm trying to do as neutral as possible. Like with a harebrained schemes of BattleTech, which went off its way to prevent players from making white characters. Oh boy, that's some BS. All right. Okay, you can make your character however you want. That's the way you should make gaming. The character creator, which players get to use twice, once at the start to define your human aspects, and then a second time later in the game to flesh out your vampire. Okay, that sounds cool. Goes way beyond basic male and female models. Body type, gender pronouns, and employment history and fashion can all be toyed with for a very modular build. Cool, that's interesting. Again, like I said, hopefully there's an editor or the ability to modify it whenever you want on the fly. We'll see. We'll find out. Most centrists would ignore this because it's something they've been programmed to do by liberal media. Wow, this article in particular is definitely pushing things one way or the other. Again, try to stay neutral if you can here reporting. Just my opinion. I could be wrong. Everyone else with common sense will have their red flags raised. Oh boy, were they raised, at least for me. However, it gets worse. That's why I'm already talking about modding the game quite a bit. I didn't say it if I said frag, sure. However, it gets worse. As explained in the VG247 piece, the game will be themed around modern-day Seattle politics. Oh, God, that's an issue. That should be interesting. With creative director Marn Kai Clooney explaining, are you kidding me with that name? All right. One of the reasons we went to Seattle for Bloodlines 2 is that there's a lot of conflict in Seattle. That is a microcosm of a lot of conflict that's going on all over this place. It's just felt like a good place to start to ground it, that conflict. Let me see. The conflict, there we go, between tradition and progress, conflict between money and artistic endeavors. A lot of those conflicts are happening right now, and they're very real. It seems like the perfect place to dig into something that feels very modern in terms of the conflict and also very timeless. Grounding it in 2020, but also very much a descendant of what the original game was. One of the reasons why that particular conflict attracted us so much was because it's an inherently political conversation, but it's one of the few ones where it's hard to relay trailing thought. There are valid approaches. Where it's hard to, there are valid approaches. Whatever on that part of the article. The world has to move forward, right? Sure, okay. It's a political game, but I think it's one of wait, is it going to be a political game? Then I will have it. Definitely, I'm going to have to mod it pretty hardcore. Then it's not a hardcore version as in naughty things. It's a political game, but I think it's one of those few opportunities that gives us a chance to let people make their own political statement in a way that's not cheap. I don't believe you can look at both sides of a political argument without understanding both sides. It's easy to say this is a good and this is bad. It's easy to say this is good and this is bad, but it's definitely taking some political stances on what we are on what we think are right and wrong. In terms of the main conflict, was interesting. It's one of those truly balanced issues. I hope so, because it doesn't seem like it. No, it does not seem like it. Potentially, I'm going to show. Well, I'll show it to you in a second. Now, if the pronouns wasn't much of a giveaway and the politics issue didn't seem to sway you, that definitely upsetting me slightly. But again, Vampire the Masquerade, there's always been politics in it to an extent, and trying to push people one way or the other. So that's not a problem if they do it right. If the game's good and it's fun, that's what matters. If you screw it up, well, it's another Vampire the Masquerade game that has issues. Because that's been the history of the game, Vampire the Masquerade. Bloodlines, the other one before that. So, yes, they've had issues on and off. The games have been fun, though. I definitely had fun on the previous two, so we'll see if this one is fun yet again. Buggy, though. I'm sure this one, and they're always buggy, it seems like, with the vampire games, at least from these Vampire the Masquerade series. Continuing, in an article published over Rock, Paper, Shotgun, it was revealed that the game will retain its sexiness. Okay, that's good. That's good. It's going to retain its sexiness. Hopefully the nudity, too, will be a MA game. Yeah, I doubt that. But more so oriented away from a masculine power fantasy. Senior writer Kara Ellison, someone who has a long and storied overlapping history with oh wow, this is going to be interesting. Senior writer Kara Ellison, someone who has a long and storied overlapping history with the anti-Gamergate side and the person responsible for Hotline Miami 2 cutting the rape scene, which effectively got it banned in Australia. Both explained it was paraphrased by Rock, Paper, Shotgun to outlining the game's socio-political approach to gender representation. Tell me she is not writing this. God, alright. Oh, apparently she is Joy. Oh, this is going to be fun. Yeah, a lot of mods. We'll fix it, whatever she does, hopefully. Yeah, make it our own. I mean, it can be whatever, but if they're going to really slant it, not give you the choice to go one way or the other, then I'm going to have a problem with it. I often look at like, how would... Really, is that what she said? I often look at, like, how would someone feel sexy in this situation? She explained and said that there are definitely characters in there that will be shipped like mad. Oh, wow, totes the goats. Everyone in the studio is like, yeah, I would definitely go for that one. He's my bae. Kind of stuff. They're often very unusual choices. She also said that they're trying to broaden Bloodlines 2 from the more masculine power fantasy of the original so it appeals to way more people this time. Whee! Ellison reiterated this during an interview of the Bloodlines 2 livestream on Twitch. And you can see the fashion and the little cup of water there. Oh, the fashion here. Definitely interesting individuals. All right, continuing. If you're unable to watch the clip, Ellison states, yeah, I'm definitely not going to do it. I don't feel like getting this video claimed. All right, I feel like the politics have changed, obviously. So I think the first game was kind of its time. So now the politics have moved on. So we're trying to write to the politics of now. So there's a lot more kind of things that have changed. So topics that we might discuss, like we would totally push differently from the first one. So we've been thinking about that too. Okay, so a bunch of crap that really didn't mean anything. Good job there. Continuing. Now, some people might use the excuse, who cares, Vampire the Masquerade has always been about politics. Exactly. But again, you give people options. That's when the fun of the game. There's always kind of options along the way. Yeah, we'll see if it this time. And the replay factor, we can totally replay the game over and over again and have fun. We'll see with this one. And that's true. However, most people were engulfed in the game's in-lore politics, not the real-world politics pulled out of today's headlines. Just like the original Blade movie was steeped in politics, but it was in lore, vampire politics, not entirely related to the micro-politics of intersocietal squabbles and subcultural dissension. Nevertheless, if subverting the masculine power fantasy wasn't enough, and if adding pronouns wasn't enough, and if a typical SJW line former game journalist who worked at Rock Paper Shotgun, who is now working as a senior writer on Vampire The Masquerade Bloodlines 2. Wasn't enough. I don't really know what else to tell you other than they've mentioned that they may be pulling from the 5th edition of the Vampire The Masquerade book. Oh boy, which features a member of the vignettes named Rudy that didn't go over too well with some gamers. Yeah, you think? The review of the Strange Assembly, the review on Strange Assembly didn't really bring up much about Rudy, but over on the Steam forums, they linked to the description of Rudy, who is a... Alright, I'll say that. I'm sure that's going to insult somebody if I say everything that's about to be said. So I'll just let you guys go check out the articles yourself. I'm just going to skip that little fascinating part. Actually, the 5th edition of the Vampire the Masquerade game book caused even more controversy than just having that fascinating individual. The head of the Chechen Republic, Ramzan Kadyrov. Oh boy. I can't even read this article, really, at certain points. People to vampires... I can't even say that part. Federal spokesman condemned the developers and the game, prompting for Paradox to completely overhaul the White Wolf brand. Yeah, this is not looking good. I hope this is not a mess. The Steam forums have also been on fire about all the talk about politics and pronouns and the general theme of social justice. There is, however, one small caveat that might help save this game. Chris Avallone. Yeah, if he takes the reins and doesn't let it... Why did he allow these people in the first place to be part of it? So, yeah, we'll see. The longtime industry veteran confirmed via Twitter that he did work on the game, but in what capacity we don't actually know, so it could be something as simple as a few lines of the dialogue or as expansive as an entire DLC. However, his influence was, understand, may not even be mentioned during the live stream, which likely means he didn't... Nay, not even, yeah, whatever. I mean, he didn't even have as much input or say as his team members who were heading up the game's Q&A during the announcement. Yes, well, no, crap, again, late writer, it seems. So, not looking good for the game, and I'm upset, clearly, considering, yeah, if you, yes, what I've mentioned in the past on my channel. And as usual, there will be a lot of, 9,000-year-old vampire, all that fun, so not happy with this portrayal, no, of the vampires. And as usual, there will be a lot of people pushing back against this article and this kind of news in order to keep people blinded to leftist propaganda, which has basically been the status quo for the last 7 years. Now, in the case of Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines, it's not a matter of whether or not leftists are working on it, they are, or whether or not they will have influence over the liberal progressive agenda, it does, or whether or not it will contain modern-day politics, it will. It's all a matter of degrees, or the ability to undo it in the game. That too is what I'm talking about, not necessarily these people writing this article, or the person that wrote this article. For the most part, people who are tired of all the socio-political from the left, they will likely nope outright now. For the most people who don't mind subversion and propaganda, if they don't like it, yeah, at least you're telling me ahead of time, so that helps. They will probably still give the game a try. Yeah, I'd fall into that camp. Definitely not not buying it on pre-order, that's for sure right now at least. And for the people who want to see more of the liberal SJW agenda encroaching on the gaming industry, they will probably celebrate this news and will likely be excited about the scope of politics that were present in the game, except they probably won't buy it. That's the other fun part because they seem to not spend money. Okay, continuing. Alright, so there's that news story done. Okay, and then I'll do the next one on a different tape because I'm sure this is gone for a while. So thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Have a good day. Bye-bye.